I'm straight edge, so like I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't do drugs. That's given me the ability to do this stuff and make it through the hard times. People are like, oh, well, how do you afford to get a panhead or something? And it's just like, well, I don't go spend my money on booze on the weekend. Like $100 a night, 10 nights in a row is $1,000, and that's a Magneto.
My name is Nathaniel, and this is the Motorcycle Archives.
We're just kind of, as an industry, in sort of a tricky position right now where the highly finished, highly publicized show bike, it's not really worth much now. The average guy out there doesn't want to be seen riding Andy's bike. He wants to be seen riding his bike, And so it's just a painful truth. The more you get into doing the show bikes, people start to realize like, oh wow, like I poured my heart and soul into this thing and the resale value is not really there, I would love to be able to sit in here and just build crazy bikes and sell them, but that's just not how the industry works right now. I'm lucky enough to where I can supply parts to people to build their own bikes. And so I don't get too negative on it. A lot of guys get really bummed, especially the first timer guys that do Born Free. And, they think, oh, people are going to be banging down your door to get a custom build when you win an award at Born Free or something. It's just not the case.
Say what's up. Dude, those eyes are insane.
My dad got a $2,000 severance check when he got let go and basically went to my mom and said, I've got this $2,000, like I want to start my own shop. Yeah. What do you think? And my mom basically said, in 30 days from now, if you still have the $2,000, then you can keep going, So after the 30 days, he had $4,000 and, it just kept rolling. And so, I saw that as the young kid, and oddly, that's almost the exact same thing that happened to me. Everything that we did was always on a very strict budget. When I got into cars, it was like I got a Honda CRX and I wanted to turbocharge it. But it was like, well, I can't afford to buy the Greddy or the HKS turbo setup, so I'll just figure out how to make it myself, and went to the junkyard, got a turbo off of a Mitsubishi Eclipse, just kind of cobbling stuff together to get the next rung up, and basically that's where I am today. Being your own boss is stressful and don't really get a break. And I watched my parents do the same thing,
How do you get through stuff like that? I guess the tough times, I'm sure they're come and go, but what helps you get through all that?
I'm straight edge, so like I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't do drugs. Honestly, that's given me the ability to do this stuff and make it through the hard times. People are like, oh, well, how do you afford to get a panhead or something? And it's just like, well, I don't go spend my money on booze on the weekend. $100 a night, 10 nights in a row is $1,000, and that's a Magneto. Just being like completely in love with this stuff. I think that has helped a lot. It's like I basically feel like I want to stay up for 40 hours straight working on stuff. To me, that's going out and partying. I actually used to do customer work, when I got fired, and initially went, okay, I'm going to do the Pangea Speed thing. And, when I got into this, I was building customer bikes, knowing that I wanted to always have a parts line, but doing those customer bikes, I saved the money off of that, reinvested it into buying parts, and spiraled that up to the point to where I didn't have to rely on doing custom fabrication work anymore, because that is my hobby and that's what's fun for me. And by transitioning more of my energy business-wise into the parts, that frees up the ability to burn the week with Andre working on his bike and not feel like I have to make a buck off of that, In the early days, luckily they understood my position, and really honestly, they're responsible for the success of Pangea, is like Brooke and Brandon and Danny and Nate and Casey and like all the guys that paid me initially like to do that. My friend Brett like really spent a lot of money with me, and that allowed me the ability to get to where I am now, you know? Old Harleys are a pain in the ass, you know? Like, if you're working on pre-70 Harleys, the hobby is working on the bike. If you think that a good bike is just one that you build and ride it and never have to touch it, you're delusional. It's like 80% working on it, 20% riding it. No matter how good you are at it, like, I get it, your Triumph, maybe you can kickstart it first kick every time, or you know, like I've got a Yamaha SR 500 and the thing runs like a top, you know, it kickstarts first time every time, you know. That's just not how these are, you know, but that's what makes them cool. You know, that's what is the difference between riding a knucklehead from California to New York versus riding a, you know, New Bonneville or something. That's why we care about this as a culture, is that it means something. I've seen over the years so many rich dudes pop in, you know, they're used to instant gratification, you know, they're like, oh, I want this knucklehead or whatever, you know, and they get really frustrated and really pissed off when the bike doesn't run for them. No matter if you have the best mechanic in the world working on this thing, it's still an old bike and it's still gonna take constant maintenance. And that's where you see, it's like the litmus test for like, can this guy hang or not, you know?
Well, I feel like if you're gonna own one of these, you have to be able to work on it.
Like, I feel like choppers are the most popular they've been in a really long time right now, you know, like it's cool to see a younger crowd getting into it. The older people always act like younger kids have no interest in mechanical things, and I think that's getting proven wrong in some aspect right now. I see tons of younger kids at the shows and aspiring to build bikes and cars and just a new generation of gearheads or whatever. And I think they're, you know, here to stay. And I think there's going to be progression. Like, I would love to build an electric motorcycle, you know? I'm not scared of technological advancements. I think the whole electric, you know, revolution is interesting and neat and super torquey.
That's cool that you noticed that, like with the younger people, and I guess this would kind of segue into your book, you know? I feel like that provides a lot of information for people that don't maybe know so much about the culture, but they like the look of it and they want to learn more.
Yeah, I mean, the idea with the book, you know, there's been so many old timers that have shared their wealth of knowledge with me, and I'm eternally grateful for that. Without a lot of guys being willing to take me aside and show me, I wouldn't know what I'm doing, you know, or it'd just be a lot more painful path to get there. As I'm getting deeper and deeper into this stuff, and I've built a lot of bikes, I feel like I kind of reached the comfortableness in my knowledge to maybe try to share that with some younger people, you know, and not necessarily younger, but newer to the hobby. You know, I just feel like it's kind of my obligation to show the next generation of hobbyists what I've been fortunate enough to learn. And I just don't want the information to die. You know, as these guys get older, I want to make sure that that's preserved in some sort of way, you know?
Yeah, man.
I'm not done learning. And so I came at the book trying to make sure that was really clear. And I hope that came clear to people that I'm just a guy. I'm just trying to figure it out like the rest of them. And these are just my opinions. And these are just things that I learned about how to build a bike. When I got into motorcycle stuff, like especially got into choppers, I cared a lot about riding long distance and proving to myself or proving to the world that I could like travel on a chopper. And through those experiences, I think that I don't really care that much about the riding anymore. But the only reason that I think I can say that is because I've done it. I guess I feel like the achievement of fiddling with one of these things and taking it out and coming back, or taking it out and breaking and fixing it, you know, like every time I get on the bike, it's a test bed. You know, like it built this shop from the ground up. And I've noticed lately, like me and my wife, we travel quite a bit, and I just end up missing home a lot. I get kind of homesick like pretty easy because I just miss working on the stuff, like welding stuff or machining. And I go crazy like if I can't get that out. If I leave and I'm out of town for too long, I feel like a drug addict. I'll get all these ideas in my head that I want to do and feel like trapped if I can't do it. Where I'm like, dude, we're in paradise or something. Like I should be like appreciating this, but like this to me is like where I get it off. If there's one thing I could express in this whole interview is that I feel so lucky for like the stuff that I get to do. Really honored and lucky that I get to, you know, build stuff like that and get paid and get to enjoy where I live. And I like my neighborhood and my cats and my wife and my girls and got a pretty sweet setup.
Yeah, man.
You know?
Yeah, that's a beautiful thing, man. And it didn't come without any work, you know? Like you created this. That's awesome, bro. I think that's a good point to end it too. Cool. That's really, really dope.